And hello again, friends, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day and had a fantastic weekend. Um, so, um, Anybody who saw the post the other day, let me backtrack. Let me give you guys a little bit of insight of what's going to happen for the rest of the month. So, I have 6 days off, okay, for the next month. Okay. I'm working every other day. But in those 6 days, you guys are going to be getting 6 streams. So what I've decided to do before we get into Black History Month is I'm going to fill up um, the next 3 days, including today, with 3 streams. And they're going to be on 6 films that I've really enjoyed, excuse me, over the course of 2023. Okay. So today is going to be all about Oppenheimer. This is today's stream, okay? And that's what's going to happen for today. Tomorrow, okay, you guys are going to get air, okay? Um, Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well, Deadpool. Good to see you here. So tomorrow, you guys are going to be getting air, okay? And then on on Thursday, you guys are going to be getting The Equalizer 3. So these are all films that I thoroughly enjoyed, and they were in my top 10 for 2023. The next week, okay, you guys are going to be getting films like, um, you know what? I have the sheet right here. Let's see, what is it? Here it is, right in front of me. So we're doing Oppenheimer today, as I said. Tomorrow, you guys are going to be getting Air, which I just sat down and watched for the second time and loved it. It was, I mean, I had seen it before, but it was short, and there were a lot of things I picked up the second time that I did the first time. On Friday, you guys are going to be getting Equalizer 3, as I said. The next week, okay, the next week, you guys are going to be getting Guardians of the Galaxy 3. You're going to be getting Creed 3, and you're going to be getting Saw X. Those are all films I thoroughly enjoyed. It was in my top, probably Saw X wasn't, but 5 of those 6 films was definitely my top 10, and that's what you guys are going to be getting. So, absolutely. And then going into February, we're going to be starting Black History Month. Okay, so all that out of the way. Once again, today's stream is going to be all about Oppenheimer. Now, doing the research for this, I was, look, I had seen this movie 3 times, all in IMAX. So, I mean, that being said, it was something else to see. Um, it's and so what I'm gonna do here, okay, the way this today is gonna be structured is I'm gonna talk about the film, okay, talk about the intro to the film, all the particulars about it. I'm then gonna get into the synopsis, okay, for anybody who hasn't seen the film. And then what I'm going to do at the end is interesting. So, as we move forward toward March, okay, um, there's something, we just had the Critics' Choice the other night. We just had the Globes a couple weeks ago. I'm going to be talking about Oscars. Now, Oscar nominations, speaking of, and that's a good transition to the actual thing. Next week, I want to say it's next Wednesday, the 20, I forgot what, next 24th, I think. The 24th is when Oscar nominations come out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do 2 streams. When the nominations come out, I'm not going to do it right after the nominations, but I will have a Oscar nominations stream. Okay, I'm going to talk all about the Oscars and nominations. I'm going to bring Matthew Anderson back. And so we're going to discuss all about the different categories, what he likes, what I like, why, whatever else. And then that night, okay, Oscar night, we're going to do a post-Oscar stream, like we did last year. Anybody who was around last year that saw this actually saw the stream last year. We're going to do it all over again. So this will be the second annual Real Talks preview, Oscar nomination preview. Okay, I got some other stuff for you, but then we're going to save that until the end of the show. So once again, Oppenheimer. This was actually, so I think this is my number one film of the year. I know what I said with Maestro, and I put that out, but once again, I saw this film 3 times, all in IMAX. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. When Christopher Nolan makes films, they're events. They really are. And he hit this out of the park. He really, really hit this out of the park. And there's so many superlatives and everything else. So let me give you guys a little bit of background, and then we'll get into the particulars. So this was actually released July 21st, right at the end of July, by Universal. Now, this had, when we talk about casts, this cast was absolutely stacked. Okay. So here's a shot from the red carpet, right to left, okay, or left to right, actually. We have Matt Damon. We have no, I have to actually bring his name up here. We had Scott Grimes. That's who that is, Scott Grimes. Okay. We had the gentleman who played Einstein, and I'm looking for his name. So we had him, and yeah, so that was the gentleman who played Einstein. Okay. And then the rest of the cast is stacked, and then we have the executives down at the end. We've got Emily Blunt. We've got Cillian Murphy, obviously, who's the lead. Florence Pugh. I'm going to get into her in a couple of minutes because I want to talk about something that really was a big uproar for this film. RDJ, okay, Robert Downey Jr., Raleigh Malek, even though he had a small little part in it, he was really effective. Of course, you have the director, Christopher Nolan, and then to his immediate right is his wife, Emma. So, Emma Thompson, not Thompson, Thomas, Emma Thomas. So, huge cast. I remember this coming out last year and having a, you had that countdown, which, by the way, we'll get into marketing in a couple of minutes, but the marketing was just absolutely superb for this movie, just in general. When was the last time that you saw something that had marketing, that had a countdown timer, that made everybody go, what is this? And the fervor and the excitement and the mystery, frankly, about it, it was incredible. That all being said, this cast was stacked head to toe. And so it actually, so this film has done a lot, right? I mean, the cast is stacked, the director is well accomplished, obviously. And it did something else, marketing, right? When I was talking about marketing, we had another little movie come out that same day, Barbie. So so let me backtrack a little bit. I thought, and I ate my words on this. I thought when I first I heard they were making a Barbie movie. I went, oh my God, what are they doing? I mean, how are you going to be able to put Barbie into a feature film? I just didn't think it was possible. So Warner Brothers decides that they're going to actually do a Barbie movie, and Greta Gerwig was attached to it. Margot Robbie, pictured there, was a producer. So I went, okay. Now, once again, marketing for that Barbie was fantastic. We hadn't heard anything about what this was going to be. Okay. Um, how are they going to do it? And for a long time, there was speculation about when are we going to get the first trailer for Barbie, whatever. And the teaser that came out was fantastic. I got to give Warner Brothers a lot of credit because when they really did the marketing, they did it so well. And of course, the teaser trailer was that, you know, the music was taken from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and she was just, it was in the first 10 minutes of the film. So for anybody who's seen the film, and it was fantastic. And the premise was going to be, okay, how are they going to do this? Is one going to take away from the other? And if so, how much? And this is where the counter program really came in. And I really honestly thought, and I ate my words on this, I really thought Barbie was going to flop. Lo and behold, it was this third highest ranking movie, money wise of the year. And we'll get into what's a little bit better than that in a couple minutes. But it was incredible. And I went to go see it. So according to, let's see, according to NATO, okay, so NATO, it's not that NATO, okay? It's not the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. No, not that one, guys. It's it's the National Alliance of Theater Owners. So every single year, okay, there is an organization that gets together in CinemaCon. I'm gonna try and get there this year. We'll see. That's a different story, though. So they get together in Las Vegas and they get all of the upcoming stuff in March. So NATO, okay, once again, National Association of Theater Owners. They, okay, they said 200,000 people saw Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day. That's incredible. 200,000 people. I was one of those 200,000 people, by the way. And it was a long day. I'm not going to lie. It was a long, long day. It was about it was close to 6 hours. It was actually more like closer to 6.5 hours with previews. But yeah, I went to go see Barbie first. And then I went to go see Oppenheimer because it was the longer of the two films. And it was fantastic. So we had this phenomenon, okay? And it was called Barbenheimer, okay? Obviously, everybody has heard whoever came up with Barbenheimer needs a medal. So actually, the word is a portmanteau of the film's titles. So a portmanteau is actually, so anybody who's a film buff, okay, that's going to watch this or knows what it is, a portmanteau is the combination of things and they kind of twist it around. So the best example I can give you is Pulp Fiction. Okay, Pulp Fiction does not start in the beginning and ends in the end. Okay, it starts. So obviously, Pulp Fiction has 3 stories. Okay, the briefcase. You have the watch, and then you had the I'm blanking on it. The last scene with Harvey Keitel, and so, but it wasn't started. The film actually started, okay, in a different place. So that first sequence, that first 15 minutes you see, minus them in the car and everything else, but we start the film in the middle, and then we go around from there. So imagine taking a clock and starting the film at 6 and then going all the way around the clock and ending at 3. That's what they did. Okay, that's what it is. That's what a portmanteau is. So they took the name, okay, and they combined it. And what you get is Barbenheimer. And so it was just, it took off. The film absolutely, I mean, the whole marketing, and it was, by the way, okay, it was both of them. It wasn't just one, it was both films. And I'm going to get to um, the revenue because it's fascinating to see what happened opening day. So when you have 200,000 people actually go to see these films on the same day. So here's what happened. Okay. Here's what happened. That weekend, okay, that weekend, as I said, where 200,000 people go to see it. But, okay, but for um, Oppenheimer, okay, so it had a budget. Oppenheimer had a budget of $100 million and opened to nearly $82.5 million. This is this year, guys. Okay, this is after the pandemic. And it was released in about 3,600 theaters, little over 3,600 theaters, 3,610 theaters. Barbie, okay, was open in nearly 600 more theaters. 4,200. It was about 4,240 theaters, okay? And it doubled the output. Now, obviously, double the output. So Barbie, it made $162 million. It is actually, if I'm not mistaken, I have the statistic in front of me. It's actually in the top 20 all time openings. Okay? I mean, we're talking about, I mean, look, there's only been 9, put it in perspective, okay? There's only been 9 movies ever, okay, to open with $200 million. Now, the majority of them are Disney, okay? Force Awakens, Avengers Endgame, um, I'm blanking. Okay, so Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Endgame, Infinity War, Last Jedi, Jurassic World, The Avengers, and there's a couple of others I can't think of off the top of my head. But this blew up. So it was clear that people really wanted to see this. So the marketing here for both of these studios was fantastic. And that really pushed, that really pushed what happened with this. And it just kept going and going and going. So the final tally for Oppenheimer, okay, was $952 million. It made almost $1 billion. Now I'm getting away from money. I've start to become I start to think of films as merit, not money. So, okay. So that all being said, it was incredible, and it did wonders. Okay, but that was so the only 2 films. It finished 3rd for the year. There's only 2 films that actually made more money than Oppenheimer. The Super Mario movie, and I'll get into why that made more money, and not by much, guys. 1.36 billion, so it's about 400 million. And Barbie, 1.445. Now, the reason why, so the main reason why Mario. The reason why Mario made almost $1.4 billion, couple of reasons. Okay. Number one, okay, it was animated. Everybody likes animation. Everybody loves animation. Okay. It's not just for kids, as some people think. Excuse me. it's for everybody. That's first and foremost. Second of all, it's a recognizable IP. Okay, it's Mario, right? Mario has been around, whether it's you know the Mario Karts or Nintendo or whatever it is, for almost 40 years. So that's second. Number three, you had names behind it like Chris Pratt, Anna Taylor Joy, so you had recognizable names. Okay, a lot of people, So yeah, that's the third reason. And number four, it was only 90 minutes. It was only 90 minutes. So what ended up happening was you could show a whole lot more showtimes, okay, in a single day. Whereas, let's say in Oppenheimer, it's a 3-hour film. How many showtimes, even if you start at 10 a.m.? And by the way, guys, this was all done in IMAX, and we'll get into that in a couple minutes. But how many showings are you really going to get in an IMAX theater? 4? Well, 10 to 1. Let's say you start at 10 o'clock. Okay, 10 to 1. Figure 15-minute layover. 10 to 1, 1:30 to 4:30, 5 to 8, 5:30 to 8:30, 6 to 9, and maybe 9 to 12. That's it. You're only going to get 6 showtimes in there. Okay? Whereas a Mario, okay, it's 90 minutes long. You can put this in 3, 4, 5 theaters, okay, and rake in as much money as you can. So that's the reason. And then, Barbie making almost $1.5 million. Well, once again, go back to the premise, right? Everybody, the marketing was fantastic. You had Margot Robbie, who was an absolute superstar. Okay, I mean, I Tanya, she was in The Big Short for a little bit. She did a cameo there. I mean, just an absolute superstar. And then you get a director like a Greta Gerwig, who's fantastic. Lady Bird, Little Women. Put all that stuff together, roll it up, and you get Barbie. And then the story, right? Okay. So Barbenheimer was a major, major contributing factor to why this did so well. The other thing too is let's call a spade, okay? It was made in IMAX, so anybody who's a film buff, film aficionado, whatever, IMAX it's a different type of. It's just a different type of film, okay? The magazines are huge, okay, and it's one of those things where it's so crisp, it's so clean, it's just amazing. And digital is not bad. I'm not knocking digital, for the record. What I'm saying is that there's a difference. Nolan is a filmmaker's filmmaker, a professional's professional, if you will. Okay. And so he uses the best equipment and he wants the best results. And that's what he got. Whether it was the close-ups or it was the explosions or whatever. And it's funny because when you actually look at the actual film itself, so they delivered these things in a on pallets because it was huge. This was, I mean, you can Google the pictures. I don't have it in front of me, but these things were on pallets and they were numbered. And what they had to do, okay, what they had to do was, it's actually a fascinating process. What they had to do for this film, okay, and this is what they did for Dunkirk, is they have technicians, so they get the film, okay. Let's say you have 40 reels. you have to cut off the end of the reel and then attach the next one. So that little, have you ever watched a movie, guys, and you see that little thing up in the top right hand corner that comes up occasionally? That's where the cut is. So what ends up happening is they splice it, attach the next one, so when it runs in the projector, it runs seamlessly. They actually had to enlarge the the stand. Dunkirk was huge. They actually had to enlarge that. For Oppenheimer, it was even bigger. And this thing, like I said, came in pallets. All told, it was almost a ton of film. That tells you something. And, you know, now the other reason why, too, it made as much as it did is because it was in as many IMAX theaters as possible. And I do see your question. I'll get to it in just a minute, Deadpool. It went to as many IMAX theaters as possible. And by the way, that's why it went to 600 less theaters, because we don't have as many IMAX theaters as we do regular 2D theaters. If you go to a Cineplex, they're probably going to have one IMAX theater. Like the one down the street from me, it has 12 theaters. There's only one IMAX theater. So that tells you something. That all being said, the premium large formats was a big, big part of it. And it took away, okay, we can speculate on this, but Tom Cruise was, I mean, I know he just announced Top Gun 3 at Paramount, but he was ticked. He was ticked off. And because he wasn't getting the premium large formats. Anyways, I digress. Let's get to your question, Deadpool. What do you think? Where do you think Oppenheimer ranks among film all time? Okay, so I think that there's. I was actually going to get to this at the end, but you brought up the question, so I'll answer it now. I think that there are two ways to really look at film. The first way is the immediate here and now. Okay, it is the right now, today. What is it? The immediate reception of the film. And then you have, what is it going to look like in 5 years? Okay, I mean, I even asked Matthew this on the stream the other day. I said, how do you think Oppenheimer is going to age? And you look at legacy. When you look at Oppenheimer as a whole, okay, it is a film that's going to age very, very well. Now, we can always go back and forth and debate whether Inception was better than Dunkirk, whether The Prestige was better than The Dark Knight, whatever. Okay. Everybody's going to have a different master class for, certain directors. That all being said, I think right now, marketing-wise and financially, it was a huge success for Universal. Off the top, just hit a home run. The story was great. The cast was fantastic. Whatever. You have to also remember something too. Okay, Christopher Nolan had been with Warner Brothers for 15 years, so there is something in itself right there. Okay, 5 years from now, how is it going to age? Even if this doesn't win a single award, which, by the way, I'm not predicting it. I mean, I'm predicting it's going to clean up. But even if this didn't win a single award, it's an incredible, incredible film and achievement. Because, once again, Nolan didn't use CGI. That was the whole premise of the film, right? It was all leading up to the Trinity test and how that was going to work. But Nolan doesn't he said, I could have taken an easy way out. As a matter of fact, he even said in an interview himself, he said, I love CGI. I used it on The Dark Knight Rises, but I didn't want to do it here. So when you see how they actually did the explosion, it's fascinating. Where's it going to rank all time? It's going to be incredible. This is going to age really, really well, and it's going to be one of those films that is just it's looked upon favorably, and people we're going to look back in 5 years, and I wouldn't be shocked if this is on people's top 10 list of the decade. I really wouldn't. Okay, because you look at what's been out, right? I mean, you had Everything Everywhere All at Once just won Best Picture last year. It won 7 Academy Awards, the closest to winning the Big Five since Silence of the Lambs did back in 1992. That's a really great film. It's a different film. This is a different film, and it's about that's the other thing too. And I know I'm going off on two or three different things, but this is about a film, not only a historical man, but the content, right? I'm going to get into the story in a minute. I'm just going to go turn my light on, guys. I'll be right back. Okay, much better. It was getting a little too dark in here. Okay, so yeah, so many different things. I'm going to get into all this stuff. I'm going to talk about the themes. There are 6 or 7 major themes of this movie, and I want to touch upon all of these because they are extremely, extremely important. So, once again, we have a stack cast, okay? You know, as I made mention of just a couple minutes ago, okay? Matt Damon, Scott Grimes, Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, RDJ, Raleigh Malek, Christopher Nolan, Emma Thompson, or Thomas, okay? So, fantastic. It's fascinating to see what costumes can do too. So this is what they look like regular, okay? This is what they look like in costume. Now, one of the big things, that Nolan really liked is authenticity. And just like every filmmaker, okay? The biggest thing about authenticity is if you can make it as real, it is close to the possible way they looked and everything else, you've done your job. The biggest thing that they wanted to keep for Oppenheimer, and Murphy has even gone on record and said, I studied him and everything else, and the biggest thing they wanted to keep was the blue shirt. So there were 3 major trademarks of Oppenheimer. Okay, the first was the blue shirt. Okay, he always, if you watch the film and you've watched, he always wears a blue shirt, and he always he always, for the most part, not always, okay, but he always wears a red tie. A, because it's a power color, and B, because it offsets the blue. The second thing is the hat, the fedora. The hat is so key and was so trademark to Oppenheimer that they wanted to keep it. And the pipe. Okay? And this is the shot here, it's a better shot here of Oppenheimer with the pipe and everything else. That's what they wanted to keep as much as possible. So, that all being said, so the costumes were incredibly important. Now, I was just talking about Florence Pugh for a minute, okay? I want to touch upon something that really is important. So, but I want to get to Yuli's. I loved Oppenheimer, but I went home and Googled the film's historical accuracies, especially the portrayal of J. Robert Oppenheimer and the depiction of Stalin and communism. Yes, so one of the things that this film does, okay, is we're set in the war, okay? We're set in World War II, okay? When the film begins, and it doesn't really give a ton, it's not like this gives a, like 1942, 1954, or it doesn't give you a year so you can say, okay, 12 years have gone by. Now, There was a book, okay? There was a book called American Prometheus, and that's where this is based. Now, I have not read the book, so I don't know all of everything about it. But this is what the screenplay was adapted from. Now, I'm sure that Nolan did as much as he could, and he adapted as much as he could from that book. Um, and there may have been, I'm not even aware, I didn't even Google the historical inaccuracy, so I don't really know. I really should actually go back and do that because it will be interesting to look at and say, oh, okay, this, that, or the other. Um, so yeah, that's interesting to actually. So the way they talked about communism and Stalin. I mean, look, there's a scene there when they're recruit the whole. So the way you can break Oppenheimer down, the film down, okay, is obviously it's a 3 hour film. So let's talk about the 3 acts real quick. Okay, the first act is about a young Oppenheimer. Okay, and what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. Okay. So it starts in 1926 with him being 22. Anxiety, homelessness, or homesickness. He experiments with, somebody at physicist at University of Cambridge. So he actually wants to poison him. Okay. But what ends up happening is that he runs into another professor and talks to another professor and says, "Look, you have to go somewhere else." Okay, so he actually goes to Switzerland and he meets, he starts to network a little, meets some other um, educated, interesting people that are in the same realm. This is where he really, um, so he goes to Berkeley, okay, and he actually starts to teach at Berkeley, and that's like that one scene where there's one student that comes in, right? And he said, "Is this the physicist?" He's like, "Oh yes, 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 yes." Saying, and so he starts talking to him, and he's the only student there. And then we go to the very next scene, and the classroom's full because it's starting to pick up, right? Um, so he's at Berkeley for a while, and this is where he goes to a couple of meetings, okay, and this is where he meets Kitty. And so this is where this is where Jean really comes into the picture. Okay. And Jean is not an integral part, but she does play a part in Oppenheimer's life. And she's an ex communist. And this was a big sticking point with him wanting to work on the bomb because she's an ex communist. So one of the things, and this is where I'm going actually, that was a fantastic segue. Thank you. And so what ends up happening, okay, is he has an affair with her. Now, anybody who has seen the movie, okay, knows where I'm going with this. Okay. There is a scene, there is a sex scene. In, I mean, there was other things that the amount of smoking and everything else. But there was a sex scene in the film with Florence Pugh. And in some countries, okay, they CGI'd her body. And where I'm coming down is this. Okay. Film is not only is it subjective, okay, but it's an art form. Okay. When you I understand I understand they did this in other countries, but the uproar here, okay, for anybody who watched the film, okay, and say, "Oh my God, there was full frontal nudity, and it was unnecessary." Look, Christopher Nolan is a filmmaker's filmmaker. He is not going to put something in unless he deems it absolutely necessary. Now, she only played a small part in the film, but it was necessary. So going back to the portrayal of communism, okay, it was one of those things where this is why we have the ratings we do. Okay. Anybody who's looked at the MPA ratings, this is why it's based off of that. Okay. The four things that really get you certain ratings, okay, are violence, gratuitous violence, depending on what it is. Excuse me. Gratuitous violence, language, dropping F bombs, okay, namely, sex, okay, how much sexuality is in it, and smoking. That's it. The fact there was a full frontal nude scene, and there was that scene in there, and then there was that other scene when they first meet, where they sleep together. It's because that scene, there's a so for anybody who hasn't seen the film, okay, there is a scene where, as I said, they're making love. Okay, she gets off and she goes over to the bookshelf and pulls out a book, and she asks him, "What are you reading?" And it was in a different language. And Oppenheimer actually reads, "I am the destroyer of worlds." Okay, and so you see, and that comes to play a part later on in the film. But I think there is too much made of it. It's a film. Look, if you like the film, are you going to say, yeah, but it was a fantastic film, but that one little thing over there bothered me? No, not at all. And by the way, once again, she was in a small portion of the film. Yes, she had a role, but it's not like she was like Emily Blunt. Emily Blunt, who played Kitty, okay, and they ended up marrying and everything else. So to me, when you have unnecessary, gratuitous scenes, and there are a couple I can think of off the top of my head, right? The first one, okay, the first one I can think of off the top of my head is Dawn of Justice. When Clark goes in and Amy Adams is taking a bath. Now, there isn't any nudity, but she's in the bathtub and she's covered up, but that scene was completely unnecessary. Or you take something like Star Trek Into Darkness, okay, where Kirk and I forget the character's name off the top of my head go into the shuttle, and she's changing, and she, Kirk said, he turns around, she's like, turn around, and she's in her bra and panties. That's gratuitous. That doesn't serve the story at all. But when you have it, because when you have a scene like that in a film like that, in Oppenheimer, it's completely different, completely different. I thought I think people getting vaporized in Oppenheimer was gratuitous. So you never saw them drop the bomb on Japan. Okay. So you heard it over the radio. Okay. You heard it over the radio that they had dropped 2 bombs, but you never saw the destruction. And I think that was a necessary thing too. So getting back to the picture though, and this is where, as I said, it's broken up into 3 acts. The first act is all about recruiting the scientists. He meets Kitty, he's recruiting the scientists, and everything else. So he goes to all these different uh, universities, and basically he actually consults with Einstein. And so, there's that scene where, um, we when we meet Strauss, okay, and what ends up happening is, so that's the first act, okay. The second act, the second act is all about the second act is all about the um, the test, right? It's all about building the bomb itself, okay. It's all about actually, um, figuring out the theories and everything else, okay. Meanwhile, Oppenheimer is trying to balance his home life because they go to Los Alamos, okay. And even it was said there, and he's Oppenheimer says it. He's like, "Look, don't bring your families. We have to get the best out of it for as long as possible, right? Because they're at a race." So when you see, and this is where, he goes to, um, this is when he meets Strauss. Okay. One of the things was that he ended up um, meeting Strauss, and you know, um, so it was that was a big sticking point. Um, so I am just trying to hang on, guys. Um, but yeah, so he meets Strauss, and that's that scene with Einstein. Okay, and so Strauss really didn't care for the fact that he felt like he got slighted, and so they have a little bit of banter back and forth, and you know, um, so the second act is what I'm getting at is they're all it was all about the test. The third act of the film is once the test is done and they realize that, okay, it's a success. He really starts to, um, Oppenheimer, I'm saying, really starts to have second thoughts. Okay. He starts to have second thoughts. So one of the big opponents, because he felt like he got slighted, was RDJ playing Strauss. And so we don't know why he's going through these hearings and everything else, but he is. We later find out that it's his vindictiveness, and and what the I think the quote was power. The power is in the shadows. Okay. The thing is, and then of course later on, Raleigh Malek comes in, and at the end of the film, this is when he's trying to get confirmed. He basically shuts the door on him. So that all being said, it's we're seeing all these different things. To your point, okay, and this is important because I get it, okay, but even in the third act, okay, Oppenheimer goes into Truman's office and says, you know, I think we need to, leave Los Alamos and give it back to the Indians and the people that the residents that were there. And Truman says, who do you think they're going to remember? Right? Not you. I'm the one that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. I'm the one that dropped the bomb on Nagasaki. I did that, not you. Right? I mean, so it goes to show you Truman's, ego. But the whole third act of the film is about Oppenheimer, and regret is not the right word, but he realizes, as he's being grilled, okay, as he's being talked about. We go in, so periodically we go in and out of sequences that um, he's in the hearing, right? And one of the fantastic sequences, and we're going to talk about, I'll talk about Oscar nominations in a couple of minutes, but the use of sound, okay? So, for example, when he's, you know, when that is done, okay, and he's going to give the speech, okay, we hear the sound in his head rising, bellowing, and he starts to see images of what possibly happened. That's when he realizes, oh my God, what did I do? He let the genie out of the bottle, so to speak. Um, and the use of lighting and the sound editing is just fantastic here. The use of light. This shot here, okay, when he is being grilled by one of the guys, and you just see this light that is the bomb, okay, and he eventually Oppenheimer was very subdued, okay. They snapped. He snapped that. He never does that, right? Um, that all being said, he realizes what he did. He realizes there was a plot against him, and that's when you know he started to have a conscience. Um, and I think that's so important because it showed him, and he even said in this sequence here, okay, he even said that you know I was doing my job, I was doing the test, okay. I understand there was going to be destruction, but I was just following orders. I didn't pick the target. Okay. Yes, he was in the room, but at the same time, he didn't pick the target. Um, he was looking at it from a scientific point of view, right? Not the average Joe or Jane. And that's so important to understand, too. Um, but like, too, I mean, just seeing everything come together and having the bomb and having it done. Um, yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from, Yuki. I do. Um, but once again, they didn't show any. That was, I imagine that was an immediate concern and everything else. This is why they had that actual radio broadcast. So, you know, but I mean, that was a long-winded answer around it, but I wanted to touch upon that because it's important. This is an important. This is an important thing in history that happened. We know as Americans when we grow up, or as when we're coming up in school, we know about World War II. We know how World War II ended. Okay, um, but we don't know people getting vaporized in Loppy's dreams really scared me. Nudity was okay with me. Oh, you mean the dreams? Okay, I stand corrected. That was yes. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, like this scene here, when he's, you know, taking because he doesn't like the speech, obviously. I mean, he doesn't like he's a very private person. But when he's up there and he's giving that speech, and then he sees what he did and the dreams and everything else, and we're getting that was scary. I agree with you wholeheartedly because he realized at that point, oh my God, what did I do? And even the shot here, okay, when you see the flash of light and everything else you go, you don't see it on screen, but you're seeing it what potentially happened Absolutely. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. That was crazy. And yeah, the nudity was minimal. But yeah, Oppenheimer is an incredible movie. Now that I've walked through the actual film, okay, and there's a lot of other things, okay, a lot of other things that I kind of touched upon this here and there. So there are 7 major themes to this movie. There are 7 major themes to this movie, and I want to touch on a few of them, if not all of them, because they're all important. Because, and by the way, guys, this is what a um, this is what that show I'm starting to put together, Anatomy of a Movie, is going to be about. It's going to be about the themes of a movie and why they're important. So, um, the first theme, the scientific responsibility. Okay, Oppenheimer faced moral and ethical dilemmas regarding the use of atomic energy as a weapon. The theme of scientific responsibility explores the consequences of the scientific advancements and the ethical choices scientists must make. And it's right, okay? Because that's what the whole, once again, we go back to it, that's what the whole third act was about. It was about Oppenheimer realizing what he did, okay? And their only their only thing they're looking at is, even in like I said here, he said, I did my job. I did my job. I realized this was a big, big thing, but I was just doing what I was told. The scientific advancement of it, even, when he said, one of the scenes as the bombs are being put in the boxes and being pushed, trucked away, he's having a conversation with one of his colleagues. He's like, when do you think we'll hear? He's like, I don't know. And because he realized he started a whole new arms race. And he's like, we hope that this doesn't happen, And one of the guys says, until somebody builds a bigger bomb. And, you know, so the scientific responsibility and being able to use it correctly, okay, it's one thing to develop something, it's about another thing to actually using it. And that's where the moral dilemma comes into play. Okay, so the second major theme of this, power and destruction. The development of the atomic bomb symbolizes the immense power humanity has gained over the forces of nature. This theme delves into the destructive potential of such power and the potential it can have in the world, right? Because it's a brand new thing. The atom had just been split a couple years earlier, okay? Even though we never see, we only see it in the paper, okay? Um, but it's one of those things where they're playing with fire here. Okay, these are powers more than bigger than you could possibly imagine. Okay, and who knows the potential of what could happen, but the power to know that I have this and I can use this, that's a scary thought. It's a scary, scary thought. So, um, the third big um, theme of this film, ambition and sacrifice. Oppenheimer's work on the Manhattan Project required tremendous personal sacrifice and ambition. This theme explores the tension between personal ambition, excuse me, and the sacrifice for the greater cause. For example, walking away from Gene. Gene was a major, he was having an affair with Gene. Okay, we all know that. Okay. Um, It's the simple premise of he had to he had to walk away from it. Okay, he was even his personal life. Okay, was just in shambles. I mean, he was barely around. Okay, for his wife. So, but it was one of those things where he there was a lot of different sacrifices made by a lot of different people. And when you get in to be a scientist, those are the kind of things. It's a very lonely type of thing because you have to isolate a lot of people because it's a lot of research. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of trying to make things happen. And you're inventing, whatever it is, whether it's technological, whether it's weapons, whatever it is. Um, the next theme, the Cold War paranoia. If the work extends beyond Oppenheimer's wartime activities, it might delve into the Cold War era and the paranoia surrounding nuclear weapons. Themes of potential political tension, espionage, and fear of nuclear conflict could be explored. And that's soon as the bomb is used, everything changes. Excuse me. Everything changes. Everything. As soon as the bomb is used. Because at that point, okay, a whole new world opens up. Whole new, because everybody is going to try and replicate and duplicate what they just did. To have. God forbid they have to use it again. They want to know that, they have, I mean, even the fact that one of them, not only one, but two were used, it started a whole new thing. I mean, you see scenes, where not in this particular film, but they're getting down and covering underneath their desks and everything else, because of the Cold War, and it extended all the way into, I mean, several. I mean, we're still in the potential. It just takes one person to hit one button, and that's World War III. And it's not, excuse me, it's not being fought on the battleground. It's being fought nuclear, and that's even scarier because of everything. Um. So let's move on. Excuse me, guys. Intellectual and isolation. This is where I was going back to. Oppenheimer, known for his intellectual prowess, faced isolation and scrutiny during and after the war. Themes of intellectualism, isolation, and the social response to the brilliant minds could be explored. And this is what I was getting. Okay. Not only was Oppenheimer a brilliant mind, but his home life was suffering because he was spending so much time doing this. Therefore, his marriage took a hit and everything else. When you are a scientist, it's very isolated, it's very lonely. And then when you couple other things in, it's hard. Um, so, yeah, the life of a scientist. You take a look at any major gifted individual. The two other people that that come to my mind, okay, even if you don't like them, okay, are Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. Gifted individuals, okay, and they're just different, and that's what it is. Because people, you talked about his visions. That's what Nolan wanted to do, was show the visions that he was having, doing and using this bomb, because nobody else saw him but Oppenheimer. Um, Legacy and responsibility. This is the final theme that I'm going to be talking about today. The aftermath of the atomic bomb's use raises questions about legacy and responsibility. This theme examines how individuals, particularly scientists, grapple with the consequences of their actions and their responsibility for future generations. This is where, how is he going to be remembered? Okay. A lot of people, okay, including myself, I mean, but we don't talk about this guy in school. This is not, this is not off this name, J. Robert Oppenheimer, is not off the tongue of college professors and high school teachers in the United States of America. We talk about World War II, but we don't talk about who built the bomb. Okay? Or if we do, we talk about it passing. How is he going to be remembered? And the biggest thing, one of the other, and this is why Strauss was basically trying to, undermine Oppenheimer for his, ties to Gene and put him in that, that hearing, was his security clearance. He didn't get his security clearance until maybe midway through the movie, or 2/3 of the way, right before the third act started. So, his legacy is he's looked upon as creating a whole new thing, a whole new war, and that's the war of, nuclear war. So now that I've touched upon all of the different themes, okay, what I'm going to do, because, well, it's necessary, I think, talking about it, is, so we've had four major precursors, okay? We've had the Golden Globes, and if you want to call the Critics' Choice a precursor, sure. But we will for sake of argument. So we've had two of the four major precursors, okay? And so, that all being said, we have the Oscars that, as I said, nominations are coming out a week from Wednesday, I think. This has a shot, I believe. Now, I got to preface it by saying this. If you look back 25 years, let's go back to 1997, okay? That was the year Titanic. Titanic ended up winning 11 Oscars, okay? There is only one other film that has A, won more, and B, went perfect. And that's Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Okay. And that was because that it didn't win for either one. Peter Jackson, when he developed that, it didn't win any Oscars for tech in the first 2 years. So they gave it, I think it was 13 or 14 Oscars. Every single one. Okay. Except the big five, right? Okay. If you take every other film for the past 20 years that has been nominated for 10 or more Academy Awards, very, 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 very rarely, okay, do you have films that A, are going to be competing in all five major above the line categories. So when I'm talking about Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Screenplay, and Best Director. And there have been a lot. Okay. As a matter of fact, Everything Everywhere All at Once, going back to that film last year, was the closest we had for a Big Five winner since 1992. Okay. If you get 10 or more Academy Award nominations, from what I have looked at, it's not boding well for you. Because the Academy likes to spread the wealth. Okay. They like to spread the wealth. And I mean, whether it's Power of the Dog, whether it's La La Land, whether it's American Hustle, whatever it is, if the magic number is 9. Okay? The magic number is 9. So if you get 9 nominations, and that's exactly what Everything Everywhere All at Once had last year, you've got a really good shot. A really good shot. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about what I think has a shot. And there were a couple I didn't list. Excuse me. There's a couple I didn't list that are definitely going to be there. So, Best Picture, no doubt. Okay. Best Actor, Cillian Murphy, no doubt. Best Actress, Emily Blunt. She's going to be nominated, but she's not the favorite. Best Supporting Actor, Robert Downey Jr. Best Adapted Screenplay, Christopher Nolan, based on the book of American Prometheus. Okay. Best Cinematography. Okay. I think that when you go and you look at exactly how the film was shot, and, I mean, even the shot here, right? I mean, they built the tower. Okay. They moved 60 miles up from where actually Los Alamos was, and they built everything. Production design. Okay. That's going to be another nomination. But yeah, I mean, even this, and looking through the camera, incredible. Okay. So, yeah, cinematography. Excuse me, editing. Some of the cuts. Excuse me, guys. I still have this cough. Editing. Best sound design. Absolutely. Whether it's the scene that, I keep going back to with this, or it's the scene when you hear the uproar. Okay. Incredible. That all being said, so best sound design, I think that cinematography, production design is going to be there. I don't think it will win, but it will definitely be there. And so all told, I think this is going to get anywhere between 9 and 12. 9 and 12 nominations. Now, how many does it win? We'll have to find out in March. But the couple of, precursors that we've had, it's very fascinating. Because Paul Giamatti, okay, has won both the acting awards for the holdovers, which, by the way, I still have to see. So I'm going to, but he's won both of them. So SAG is, I want to say next week. Don't quote me on the day. Or it's very soon. And so Critics' Choice gave, excuse me, gave the best ensemble to Oppenheimer. That's probably going to go to the SAG too. Okay. I think that I'm doing well, thank you. Good that you're here. But so yeah, I think that that's going to win best ensemble at SAG. But so where am I? Yeah, so I think it has a shot of getting at least 9 to 12 nominations. If it doesn't get, I, so I have it all. I wouldn't say all planned out, but I think I have a number of what the holdovers is going to win. I think I have a number of what Barbie's going to win, and I think I have a relatively decent idea how many Oppenheimer's going to win. So the holdovers, okay, the holdovers has a potential. Excuse me, it has potential of winning 4 Oscars. I mean, I'll talk all about this in the prediction show too, but it has potential of winning 4 Oscars. Okay. Best Picture. I'm convinced now that Paul Giamatti is going to win Best Actor. Best Supporting Actress is a lock. Okay. And Best Original Screenplay. Those are the 4 I think it will win. Okay. Barbie has it, I think, legitimately has a shot at 3. It's going to get double-digit nominations, but it's only going to win 3. Best production design, best costumes, and best original song, whatever it is. Oppenheimer has a chance to do what Everything Everywhere all at once did last year. It has a legitimate chance, minus best actor and minus best actress, because best actor, I believe, is going to Paul Giamatti. Best actress is going to Emma Stone. Everything I've seen from what Poor Things is, and I have yet to see that too, they're just not responding to Barbie. It's a different film, but they're not responding to it. That being said, I think it has a shot at. Let's go through it again real quick. Best Picture, okay. Best best adapted screenplay, okay. Best supporting actor. Best director is a lock, okay. Best cinematography, best sound editing or sound design, and best edit. I think it has a chance of winning 7 Oscars. Legitimate chance of winning 7 Oscars. I don't see many more. I just don't. Do you know that the man who made the nuclear bomb has great respect for our holy book? In fact, he quoted the line, "Now I am death." Yeah. Yes. Yes, that was in the film. And that's, I was going through, before you came in, actually, I was, oh, really? The line was taken. Oh, I did not know that. So that's interesting. But it's so true, though. It's so true. Because Oppenheimer realized exactly, and once again, Oppenheimer was a very educated man, so I'm not, you know, I'm not, surprised that he took it from another holy book, you know. Um, so it's one of those things where, yeah, I think it has a legitimate chance at 7, maybe 9 Oscars. I do. Um, and as far as legacy is concerned, this is going to go down. I think it's a tough call. I mean, I go back and forth on a daily basis between this and The Dark Knight. Okay, um, Christopher Nolan has made so many good films in his time that it's one of those things where, which one do you choose, right? I mean, he has made all of the Batman films. Okay, he's made, Interstellar, which was another 3 hour. It's been a while since I've seen Interstellar. It's been a while. Prestige, okay. Dunkirk, which I actually saw in IMAX too. Inception, okay. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. As a matter of fact, I didn't know this until today that he ended up making Insomnia with Robin Williams and Al Pacino and Hilary Swank. That came out in 2002, I think. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I have seen it. It was really good. But that was a young Christopher Nolan. And I'm not going to try and rank this. And I mean, I think The Dark Knight is his best film by far, hands down. Twice on Sunday. This is up there. So it's one of those things where Christopher Nolan is we have very few directors today that are as good as him. We really do. I mean, when it all comes down to it, okay, like there's only a handful of directors that are as good as Christopher Nolan. I mean, Tarantino is up there. He is up there. Okay. And I'm not talking about quality over quantity or number or whatever. Tarantino is up there. You just look at the sheer what he does. He's a two-time Academy Award winning best, screenplay writer. Okay. He changed the game with Pulp Fiction. Everything. I think Jordan Peele is a hell of a filmmaker. And I really enjoyed Nope. It's been a while since I've seen that. But Get Out was amazing. And as a matter of fact, guys, that's going to be our perfect movie for February, for Black History Month. But that was an incredible movie. That was an absolutely incredible movie. There were other, right now, Damien Giselle, he's hit and miss, right? He had Babylon, which didn't do so hot, but, La La Land was fantastic, you know. You have a couple of other directors. Bradley Cooper. I mean, if you haven't seen Maestro, guys, go check Maestro out. It's incredible. Okay? It's as good. I wish he would take so long in between films, but it's as good, if not better, than Maestro or Star is Born. It's incredible. That being said, when it comes to fantastic directors, Nolan is, you look at his work, you look at what he's done. Heath Ledger aside, and that was an incredible movie. I mean, performance. It's one of the things. That all being said, there isn't another Christopher Nolan that loves to do that. I know you're a bit. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. I have so much planned for you guys over the next couple of months. I have streams I'm putting together. I'm going to watch all these movies for retrospectives. I'm, putting interviews together. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure about when the review would come. I can't even. I'm being absolutely honest with you. I can't even give you a time because the thing is, I don't want to give you a time to expect it, and then. But what I will say is this: I have to sit down. Let me do this. Let me research the film. I want to research it, look into it, and really understand it, and then do the film. If I'm going to do it, I'll do it. So, um, excuse me, this cough has been killing me for the past few weeks. Anyways, but there isn't another screen director like Nolan. But yeah, Oppenheimer is just. So what? My final thoughts. My final thoughts on what it is. Okay, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I think that it's one of those films that I saw it 3 times in IMAX. It goes brilliantly back from one story to the other, leaving you long enough, just long enough, to actually be in one place. Whether it's the bomb, whether it's the hearings, whether it's what's going on with Strauss. It's 3 hours and it flew by. When we talk about running times, we've all gotten to, whether it's an Avatar or Endgame or Babylon or whatever it is, if the story's good, it goes by like that. I love that. It did not seem like 3 hours at all. The acting from everybody was especially good from Murphy. This is RDJ's moment. Robert Downey Jr. is going. There's only 4 locks I have for best for the Oscars. Okay, only 4. One is 4 or 5. One is Paul Giamatti right now for best actor. Okay. The second is the actress from the best supporting actress from The Holdovers. She's an absolute lock. The third is best director, Christopher Nolan. It just the Nolan train is running full steam ahead. And RDJ. I think RDJ is going to win an Oscar, and he deserves it. And it's an incredible performance. Whether it's the whole meeting scene around the round table, or it's the last sequence in the room with his aides, whatever it is, it's just an amazing performance by Robert Downey Jr. So, Murphy too. I think Murphy is. I think, even though Giamatti has won both Critics' Choice and the Golden Globe, and it's a big if Giamatti wins the SAG, I think he's going to win the Oscar. I still think Murphy has a chance to win the Oscar, though. I do. So, that being said, as far as ranking it, it's tough. Like I said, I go back between this and The Dark Knight being his masterclass. I believe, like I said about Legacy, when critics talk about this in 5 years, I think they're going to talk about this was one of the best picture winners we've had in general. I think this is going to be on the decade's best list. I think it's going to age really, really, really well. So, it's a home run. And whatever Nolan does next, can't wait. I'm there. I'm there because whatever it is, it's going to be good. A lot of people, and I would be interested. A lot of people are speculating he wants to do a James Bond movie. That would be fascinating because that's phonetic. I mean, if you take a look at Nolan's history, I wouldn't say action, but take a look at The Dark Knight, right? I mean, that was an action type-ish film. But yeah, if he did James Bond, that would be something else. But I also believe he's going to write it and direct it and everything else. But that would be fascinating. Okay. I don't know if he would actually want to do it though. I mean, he's very good at what he does. Although it's different. It's different. I mean, he has not done like a major action film. I mean, he's done, The Dark Knight, Batman trilogy, but Interstellar, Inception, we're not talking about big films. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. They are big films. What I mean is they're not action films. That's just not Nolan's type. That's not his way. Anyways. But that is Oppenheimer. That is Oppenheimer. And so it's it was a hell of a film. And my suggestion to anybody is if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, go watch it. Because it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So, guys, I wanted to couple things coming up, and then so first and foremost, okay, I just did a stream about The Last of Us. Okay, go check that out. That's all about The Last of Us Part 2, the new casting and everything else. So, The Last of Us Part 2 is being released January 19th, remastered on PS5. So, what I'm going to do was about a year ago. It wasn't very good, but I'm going to release it. I'm going to re-release it. I sat down with a friend of mine on Twitter. His name is Benjamin. I hope you're watching, Benjamin. I hope you're subscribing. And reach out to me. By the way, guys, reach out to me on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always talking about movies and in spaces about movies and everything else. That's my handle down there. Anyways, I did a basically a four-part thing about the video game The Last of Us, Part 2. I think it's a perfect game. When we talk about perfect movies, which, by the way, Get Out is going to be the perfect movie of February. But when I talk about perfect games, and there aren't many, that went over 300 awards. That's right, 300. Game of the Year, Game Informer, IGN, everybody loved it. I hope they don't make a third, and I talk about that in the video. But what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to re-release that four-part interview or critique I did with Benjamin. And he had actually just finished the game. And we're going to sit down, and I want you guys to actually watch. And once again, it's not the best in the world, but it's when I was first starting out. But because of the re-release of The Last of Us Part 2, I want you guys to get into it. So on Friday, okay, it's the 19th. That's when it drops. So you're going to get part 1 of this on Friday. You'll get part 2 on Saturday. You'll get part 3 on Sunday. And you'll get part 4 on Monday. And that's going to lead into next week. Okay? And I've got, once again, 3 brand new streams lined up for you guys. Okay? This is the first of 6 films that I'm going to be covering of 2023 that I really enjoyed. Okay? So the other 2 films that I'm going to be talking about, okay, are Air and Equalizer 3. And then next week, okay, you guys are going to get Guardians of the Galaxy 3. You're going to get Saw X, and you're going to get Creed 3. And that will lead us into Black History Month. And then when Black History Month comes, and I'm going to sit down and start watching these films and pre-record them and everything else, you guys are going to be getting retrospectives of all, films from fantastic Black filmmakers and directors and actors and everything else. So, but that's all leading me up to this. Okay, I know I'm long-winded sometimes. This is the membership. Now, Deadpool, if he is one of my loyal members, okay. Now, right now, YouTube is giving me an opportunity to give away 5 memberships, 5 or 10 memberships, okay, when I stream. So I believe that I'm going to have to look into that. That might only be on YouTube. I'm on StreamYard right now, so I might have to start streaming on YouTube. That all being said, guys, it is absolutely free to join. And then I made these as absolutely cheap as possible for everybody. Okay? What I'd like you guys to do is to head on over to the membership page, hit that join button, because what ends up happening is A, that's going to help me out. Okay? B, it's going to get you guys some of the best content, interviews, retrospectives out there. And C, you're going to be spreading the word. And I want to get you guys the absolute best content I possibly can. So, yes. And by the way, guys, there's a merch store over there. Okay? T-shirts, I think there's hats over there, or I think there's mugs. I'm not sure. There's a bunch of different stuff. It's cold right now. A good sweatshirt, would help somebody out, I'm sure. But yeah, that's where we're at. And the other thing is too, I'm on the road to 2,000. If nothing else, and as it says at the bottom there, hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, you can either support the channel by a super chat. Okay, and by the way, guys, if you want an absolutely, and so to your point, if you want a personalized retrospective, okay, it's going to be about $25. I'm willing to do personalized retrospectives. It will be $25. Okay, because I have to, watch it, review it, get notes for it, and everything else. And if you guys want a retrospective of any movie, okay, with the exception of like a foreign film, okay, not to say that foreign films aren't the best out there, but I'll have to look into it first, okay. I'll absolutely do a custom retrospective video for you guys for $25. Um, that all being said, um, we got a ton of stuff coming up for you on the channel. In February, March, we're going to have Marvel March. Okay. I'm going to be talking about, 6 or 7 or maybe 8 of the best Marvel movies out there, going all the way back to, let's say, Iron Man, whether it's Civil War, whether it's Infinity War, whether it's Black Panther, whatever it is. Okay. Not to mention, guys, I'm going to be covering, all of the latest movies. All of the latest movies. Dune, The Fall Guy, all this stuff coming out. Okay. So I've got so much stuff coming. And that's the thing. You cannot get the highest level here, guys, is $9.99. You can't get all this stuff for $9.99 anywhere else. Anywhere else. But yeah. So, okay. That's going to do it for today. And so stay tuned tomorrow. Okay. It's going to be 3 p.m. I'll put out a tweet, but tomorrow. But come back here tomorrow, same time, same channel. Okay. And I'm going to be talking about a film that I really, as I said in the top of the show, I really enjoyed. And I had a really fun time watching. And that's Air, guys. I loved this movie. Even if you're not a basketball fan, right? Even if you're not a basketball fan, you know who Michael Jordan is. Okay? You know who Michael Jordan is. He is a worldwide, he changed sports, not only with his greatness on the court, but what he did off the court. And Air is about his story. And it's a remarkable story. And so come back tomorrow, and I'm going to talk all about Air and what I really liked about it. And, it actually came out the same week as Mario. But anyways, I will talk all about that tomorrow. So, guys, do the 3 things that you need to do. Okay? Do the 3 things you need to do. Be safe, be careful, and have a great rest of the day. And I'm going to see you guys back here tomorrow at 6 Pacific or 6 Eastern Standard Time, 3 Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to be talking about Air. So I'm David Steele, and you have been watching Real Talks. Bye-bye.